A 27 billion parameter model running locally on a single GPU should not be able to compete with frontier level models like Claude Opus 4.6, but that is exactly what I've been seeing with the new Qwen3.8 27B. Today, I'm going to be testing it at every single reasoning level, optimizing the model for maximum speed in Unsloth Desktop, and then connecting the exact same local model into the brand new Deepseek Harness for agentic coding. We'll start with testing the different reasoning levels, and then towards the end of the video, I'll be giving Qwen and Opus the same massive prompt to build a Minecraft clone, as somehow this small model is beating Opus 4.6 in Claude Code. Now, really quick, I don't normally like to go over benchmarks for too long in my videos, but this is an absolutely amazing website. If you've never checked this out before, this is artificialanalysis.ai, and they do an excellent job at comparing the different models in every single different model from every company. And down here, I just want to really quick show you guys, I added Claude Opus 4.6 with the max reasoning level, and it is actually scoring lower in the intelligence index than Qwen3.8 27B. And then coming down here, this is another artificial analysis index, open weights, and same thing, it is scoring lower. If we go to this, about the same, and then text only, about the same. So unbelievable that we have a 27 billion parameter model that we can run on local hardware, and generally affordable local hardware as well. Is absolutely incredible that we have a 27 billion parameter model that is beating some models that are in the trillions of parameters. Absolutely insane. Now, moving over to one of the programs that we're going to be using today, this is Unsloth Desktop. Now, I've done videos in the past of how to install Unsloth Studio. Unsloth Studio also comes with Unsloth Desktop, but this is just the desktop app for Windows. And I like this app over LM Studio for specifically for Windows because it automatically optimizes the model to be almost the perfect weights in all of the different settings so that you can get the most out of the model and optimal speeds. Whereas in LM Studio, I was having issues with MTP generation and different speculative decoding issues as well in LM Studio. So if you're unfamiliar with Unsloth Studio, check out my other video. But in this video, I'm just gonna do a quick rundown of how to install and get Qwen3.8 27B running. Now, my system, I have a 5090 with 32 gigs of RAM. However, you should be able to actually run Qwen3.8 with a pretty decent context window with a 3090 or even a 4090 with 24 gigs of RAM. And there are even quants where you can run this at 16 gigs of VRAM if you have something like a 4080 or a 5080. So if you go over here, you can go to this model hub, and you can go ahead and find Qwen3.8 27B. Now, we're going to be using the Unsloth version because this is the best version that I personally know of. They are always releasing new updates, trying to optimize their different quantization levels to make the model the best that it can possibly be. So right here, I've actually downloaded a few different models. Today, I'm going to be using the 4-bit quant because I feel like that's what a lot of people are going to be able to run on their systems, just to show you guys what this model can do even at a Q4 level UD quantization. And UD stands for Unsloth Dynamic. So essentially they are taking some of the weights and trying to optimize it for the maximum potential. So once you've got the model installed, you can go ahead and load it here. Now, let me just show you guys some of the settings. There are a few settings that I would recommend changing. So on the right side here, context length, I'm using a pretty healthy 133,000 context length that fits really nicely into my 5090's VRAM. Now, if you're running with 24, you could probably actually get away with this about the same context length. You might have to pull it down to like 100K, but that should still be very usable for what we're trying to achieve today. Now, right here, this is going to be key. This is the KV cache D type. This is quantizing the actual context length. And we are using a Q8 because that is where you essentially have lossless quality. You go any lower than this, like Q4, your context window is going to start deteriorating just a little bit. However, Q4 is still very usable if you're trying to just squeeze a little bit more context window out of your system. Now, a few other things to change. This should automatically use MTP with the auto setting. However, I would just set MTP. And then the fastest I've found so far with the draft tokens is 2. That's just telling the MTP for speculative decoding how many it should use. And then parallel slots, I changed this to 1. And then the only other settings that I would recommend changing is down here. These are the different settings that Unsloth recommends for a thinking model, which is what I prefer to use. And then this is going to be very important for the Deepseek Harness. I'm essentially just maxing out the max tokens for the output length of every single prompt so that it doesn't run into any issues when we go over to Deepseek Harness a little bit later in the video. So running a few tests, I just ran some tests in Unsloth Studio itself. I just wanted to see what it could do. And I'm essentially making a Tetris clone. I'm giving it a pretty simple prompt to make a Tetris clone. And I'm doing it with no reasoning, low reasoning, medium reasoning, and then extra high. Those are the only reasoning levels that are available in Qwen3.8 27B. Even though there is a high level, you set it to this high level, it's just going to default to extra high in the Unsloth Studio. Just got to stick to low, medium, and extra high. So this is the test that I ran with no reasoning involved. And all I did was I added this code, which is pretty cool. This is something that's included in the Unsloth Desktop app. So I am running this right now just directly in Unsloth. That is something you can do if you're not doing any crazy coding tasks or you just need a quick local model for some prompting. You can easily just use this desktop app. You don't have to use the Deepseek Harness that we're going to be setting up a little bit later in this video. So this is pretty interesting. I ran a Tetris prompt. I just said create a Tetris game in HTML. And I did it with no reasoning. And it went through and made all of this. I had to try to ask it where the file was. And it finally figured out how to get me the file. And here's some of the stats. This was running at an average of 100 tokens per second, which is unbelievable for speeds for this quantization level and that big of a context window. So here's the Tetris game that it ended up making in HTML, and this is actually really solid. It looks really good and it works very well. So this is with no reasoning on, and this might be what you'll want to default to when you're like essentially doing some quick coding, is just turning off that reasoning. However, I do like to test these with the different reasoning levels just to see what it can make. This is honestly a pretty solid clone overall. Now, the one that is the best was actually probably the low quant. We're going to check that one out in a second here, but this is really, really solid for what it did. And it is honestly pretty interesting because this Qwen model seems to really take the effort to a whole nother level. Like, I've seen less effort sometimes from Opus, which is honestly crazy, than this small model. Like, it'll make sure that it creates a really good generation. And as you can see, this honestly looks amazing with zero reasoning on. Now, moving on to the low reasoning level, this one was pretty interesting. It ended up using almost the entire context window, which is crazy. First of all, like 124K context window. However, it made an absolutely incredible Tetris game. It went through and it took quite a while, but it was running at a really nice 110 tokens per second. And what it produced honestly blew me away. Now, this is actually nice. It gave me an HTML preview here. So I can just expand this and play it right here, right in Unsloth Studio. This one has the best graphics I've seen. It looks better than the last generation. And I think it even had a full animation when the block or when the line breaks. Let's go look here. So let's get that line. Yeah, see that animation right there? So this one, it spent like quite a long time to build this. Like, it probably took 30 minutes, but it put every single ounce of effort that it possibly could into making this Tetris clone. And this might be one of the best Tetris clones that I have ever seen with a local model. In fact, this probably is the best Tetris clone I've ever seen using a local model. Like even better than some generations from Opus, which is actually crazy. Now, moving on to the medium reasoning level, this one was very interesting to me. It only used 10K of the context, and it practically built this entire game in less than 2 minutes. And also, the token speed was unbelievably fast. 141.8 tokens. That's the highest I've seen so far in any generation I've tested. Now, as you can see on the right here, it only took about 39 seconds to create this generation. So I'm not sure if there's something wrong with the reasoning level with this specific version of the Unsloth Qwen3.8 27B. I know we're on version 3 now, but it did actually end up making a Tetris game here. And honestly, this one isn't too bad. This is with the medium reasoning, and it did the fastest generation, and it still looks really solid, and it works just as well. Let's see if we can get a line to go here. And yep, line disappears. It doesn't have any nice graphics or anything, but it still has the preview block down at the bottom. It has the down, it has the drop function. It has pretty much everything a basic Tetris game would have. And it's kind of actually crazy that it generated this quickly using the medium reasoning level, where I would have expected the low to be much faster. So there's something very interesting with the medium versus low. Low, for some reason, seems to be higher reasoning level than medium for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why that is. And finally, we have the extra high reasoning level. Now, this one used 60K of the context window, and it created a pretty decent Tetris game. However, again, it's very interesting that the low setting actually used more context and reasoned for longer than the extra high. And here we can see we got a decent 99.2 tokens per second. All right, and here's the generation for the xhigh. And this one is interesting because it looks very similar to the medium generation. However, it took much longer to create. It looks almost identical to the medium generation. And one thing that I notice is I cannot spin the blocks more than one time. Now let's see if it'll let me spin it with the Z and the X. Nope. Looks like you can only spin the block one time. So even this one on the high reasoning level had all kinds of issues. So far, it looks like low is the winner. If you want the fastest generation possible, you got to go with medium. And then the no reasoning one was also pretty decent, but I'm still going to give low the win here when it comes to the reasoning levels. All right, so next thing is hooking this into Deepseek Harness. And this is pretty awesome. So essentially what you've got here, you can go ahead and install this pretty easily if you go to their website and follow their GitHub, and you can install this on Windows, and it uses essentially Node in order to install this Deepseek Harness, and you can use it in Windows or Mac. So if you go to this models tab here, you can go ahead and set up your Unsloth Studio to connect to the Unsloth Studio using your configured model. So in my case, I have configured an API key in the Unsloth Studio. I'll just show you guys this real quick. You can go ahead and go to Unsloth Studio and go to the API section. Go ahead and type in like Deepseek Harness, for example. I'll just say Deepseek Harness 2 because I've already set this up. Create a token, generate that here. You'll copy this token, and then you'll copy that here into the API key, and then you can set it up so it's fully locally. Just make sure you point it to this address. By default, Unsloth will use port 888 at V1, and then OpenAI chat completions, and then I have simply just set up this model here. Now, unfortunately, right now, this isn't a developer preview, so getting to some of the settings is a little tricky. So you are going to have to type in a specific command in your PowerShell window in order to set up the different reasoning levels. And that is this command here, the notepad env userprofile.dnsh settings.yaml. And if we go to this, I'll just really quick show you guys, these are the settings that you want to use with the Qwen3.8 27B model. It essentially tells it, hey, I want you to use these reasoning effort levels, low, medium, and extra high, which is the ones that are embedded into Qwen3.8 27B. I'm giving it my max context window and then max tokens. And then also you want to make sure you use this input here and do text and image. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to use the vision portion of the Qwen3.8 27B. Now I'll put those two commands in the description below so you guys can just copy all the settings and get to that settings menu pretty quickly. Now, moving on to this Deepseek Harness, this is a really cool program. A lot of people say it's kind of like Claude Code, but I think it's more like Codex, where you can have a workspace area or a project, and then you have chats that you can have underneath it, and you can start new chats underneath that, just like Codex. So right here, I have a couple examples. I did another Tetris test using the Deepseek Harness just to test it out, and I did it with the low effort level. I went through and created the full Tetris game. Now, there were a few problems, like it was cutting off at the top and I had to fix that. And then I had to essentially recenter it down here. And it did create a pretty nice looking game here. Let's just do a quick test. So this is your Tetris clone here, and it looks pretty good, pretty solid. Everything works good. It actually has nice line animations, as you can see there, and everything works. And yep, so pretty solid, and it's fully centered on the screen now. That was the problem. It was like centered over here. So that is the one thing I have noticed with the Deepseek Harness. You do kind of have to go back and forth with it just a little bit, but that's similar to like things like Codex or Claude Code, where you just have to go back and forth with it and tell it to fix certain things. So to set this up, this is actually pretty cool. You can say add workspace here, and then down at the bottom, it's actually going to load a node. So node program, and then you have to go in it and define what your folder is, just like Claude Code, just like Codex. So I could do like just test folder here. And then right now we have a new workspace, and I could tell it something like, I could just do a quick example, create a notepad app. And it's going to go through and it's going to connect to our Unsloth Studio here, which you can even open up this full API window, fully monitor what it's doing, all of its tool calls and everything coming from the Unsloth Studio. And if we go back to the Deepseek Harness, we can see it's going through the full thinking process, trying to decide what it wants to do first, thinking about the empty directory that I gave it. It's a pretty broad prompt, so I'm actually kind of curious to see what this will do. All right, I did that really quickly. I guess I didn't give it a whole lot of instructions, but it built this notepad HTML. Let's go ahead and see what this built for us here. All right, so just build a pretty basic notes app, which is interesting, kind of cool. Untitled note, let's just call it notes test. I don't really expect this to work very well because we didn't really give it a whole lot to work with here. This is pretty cool. It literally built this in a matter of like 30 seconds in Deepseek Harness. So that was just an example I was going to show you guys on how to get your different projects set up. However, with the right prompting and the correct harness, you can build some pretty cool things. So let me just show you guys what I built here. This is one of my prompts that I've been working on for a very long time. I'll provide this prompt in a link in the description. If you guys are familiar with my videos, I like to share all my prompts with you guys. But this is the full Minecraft prompt that I have been slowly developing and making better and better for the sake of doing my testing. And what it built is honestly pretty crazy. So the first run through, it actually built a Minecraft clone that was playable and working. Like, I wasn't even expecting it to be fully playable at all, and it actually was. Now, I have kind of been messing around with this. I've been going back and forth with it, back and forth with different things like making the animals look accurate, different things like that. And it's gone through and it's fixed pretty much everything that I've asked it to do. And I haven't made too many changes here. Essentially just changed like the night cycle and pretty much the animals, and I made the zombies and everything more like realistic and functional, but that's about all the different prompts that I've changed so far with this whole thing. And it created this file that is just an HTML file that we can run in our browser here. And honestly, this blew me away. I was running this and I was like, wow, this is absolutely crazy. Like it's got different like crevices, like cave system. It's even got a full crafting system. And it was running at a really decent speed too, like about like 120 tokens per second or so. It's even got like big mountains, nice rivers, the like water works where you can like go up and down the water. It's even got like a hold so you can see like the block that you're holding. The one thing, there's a few bugs like right here. I can't jump out of the water if I don't put a block there and the water doesn't fill in, but that is pretty normal for these generations. So this is on par with one of the generations that I built with Fable and also Opus 5, which I just thought was absolutely crazy. And like, check this out. It's got like a full crafting system. So if we go find like a tree here, the only thing that I think needs a little fixing with this is it takes a very long time to break the wood blocks. So I'm going to speed this up and just come back so we can show you guys the full crafting. All right, so back in the game here, if I grab my wood blocks and place them here, it's actually going to create the wood. And then we do 4 here and it is literally created a crafting bench, which just blew me absolutely away. And I can set it too. So I can set it here and then I can go into the actual crafting and create different tools like sticks. So it's got like a full crafting system. Let's see if it'll actually even make that pickaxe here. Let's see if I can remember this. Yep. Oh, wow. So created the pickaxe and now we have a pickaxe and you can actually like see it in my hand. I mean, it's not the best animation in the world, but it does work as a pickaxe and you can see that the blocks are now cracking and breaking way faster. So it is working, which is actually crazy that I have a working tool system and that this fully generated that too, by the way. And look how great this looks too. Like it did a really good job and it's essentially an endless world, full generation. And it even has a full night cycle and zombies and everything that come out at night. So pretty cool. And let me just speed it up so I can show you guys the night cycle as well here. All right, so the sun's starting to go down. It's starting to be nighttime here. And you can see that there are now zombies that have essentially spawned. And wow. Okay. Well, we got them. But yeah, it's got actual zombies that are essentially going to hurt you. It even has the creepers. Uh-oh. Just fell into like a cavern here. That's no good. Oh, there's the explosion. The creeper. So it's got like explosions and everything. You can see the block animations too. Like some generations don't even create this like floating block animation when it like creates or breaks a block, I should say. And yeah, so right now we're in pretty hostile territory here. There is quite a few. That's one thing I noticed with this generation. It created quite a few different zombies, but just the fact that it is a almost nearly playable Minecraft game with some tweaks just honestly blew my mind. Like this is just so cool that a local model is able to create this kind of generation that something like even Fable 5 is creating something similar in this regard. Like pretty crazy. Let's see if that'll get me. Oh, almost. Wow. So anyway, let's go ahead and check out now the Opus generation, which I was not impressed with at all. I don't know if they have essentially nerfed the Opus one, but it was pretty bad. So let's go check that out real quick here. So this is the Opus generation here, and this is honestly one of the worst Minecraft experiences, worst Minecraft clones I have ever seen in my entire life. Now, to be fair, I did use the exact same prompt and I did use Opus with low reasoning. However, I was just trying to match what Qwen3.8 27B would also be using. So I used both of them with low reasoning effort. And I don't even know what this is. Like, this is honestly like one of the worst Minecraft clones, probably actually the worst Minecraft clone I've ever seen. Like, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at here. So I went back into the chat. I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, and I said, okay, it finally loaded. However, this is one of the worst Minecraft clones I've ever seen. And it actually came back and it tried to fix it. It actually did a decent job. It went through and thought for like about 8 minutes. But the first one that it did with that massive prompt, it only thought for like 3 minutes. So I guess low reasoning effort is actually very low when it comes to Opus. So this is what the revised version created for me. Now, to be fair, I will say the graphics look pretty solid. Like, the graphics are not too bad. You can actually jump out of the like water area. The graphics look really good. However, there is quite a few problems with this generation. So first of all, I was testing out the crafting system. So, and also, okay, this is the first thing I noticed. Look at these blocks that are floating. Like, what even is that? That looks awful. I don't even know what that is. So I was trying to get the crafting to work and I couldn't even get it to work. So I got, the first wood blocks, went to my crafting window. First of all, I was trying to figure out how to place these. I don't know where it even went. So it just went to storage here. And then I tried to go and do this. And so far, it is not even understanding to make wood. Oh, there we go. It actually did work to make wood. However, I can't like grab it. So let's see if I go out of this menu here. And yeah, like I can't even pull it out of the crafting inventory. So regardless of this really funky animation, it still does not work. I cannot get this to actually generate or pull from that storage. So the storage and the crafting essentially don't work at all. I've been trying to click on this. I'm left clicking on it. Like I don't know how to grab these actual wood blocks. So the crafting system is broken. This is another thing I noticed is when I hit the escape button, it brings up that menu. And then this is one of the worst things with this that I noticed is the water. Let me see if I can find some better area before it gets too dark here. And we get like some zombies coming out. Also, the night cycle is like really fast. Okay, here we go. This is a good example. If I jump into this water, you can see I'm not floating. Like it shows water on top, but I can't float up. See, I'm just jumping underwater. So there's no water physics. So that's another thing. And honestly, like I said, the graphics do look pretty good, like arguably better than the Qwen 3.8 27B. But honestly, I'm giving Qwen 3.8 27B the win here because it is actually more functional Minecraft than this. Like, I don't even know what this is. What kind of zombie is this? If you look at the side, well, it's kind of hard to see, but it's a 4-legged, it's like horse zombie. Like, even this doesn't even look accurate to like the original. If I can actually get it there we go. And yeah, also you notice that they are able to walk underwater just like me. So, and then trying to get out of here is a pain because there's no way to float. You gotta like kind of make your way up. And yeah, pretty much overall, not very impressed with the Opus 4.6 generation. Now, it did do this much faster, but it is on, Frontier hardware. We are running this on a 5090 with Qwen 3.8 27B. So overall, I would say, like I said, Qwen 3.8 27B wins in this test, which is absolutely crazy that a small local model is beating frontier level models from Anthropic, as well as OpenAI. So anyway, that'll do it for this video. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. I plan on going over some more local AI content. I'm also got a video planned on using Grokbot because I just stumbled across that today and I think it looks really cool. It has a lot of really cool potential. So stick around, stay tuned for that video. Subscribe to the channel if you found this helpful. And as always, have a wonderful day.